But in my case, there was no need to be an actor like in the film. I jumped up, and it really severely hurt me.
The majority of activists participate again in the democracy movement after their release. Some of them were arrested again. If they are not arrested, they fear being arrested by the military intelligence at any time. They are often harassed in their business and social activities. Some former political prisoners left their home and family for other countries as the military intelligence tried to arrest them again. Most of them are now on the Thai-Burma border. We are not happy here in Thailand. Wherever we go, we are afraid of being arrested. Who is to blame? We don't want to stay in others' countries. We want to stay in our own country. However, we are here as Burma is ruled by bad rulers.
Our political prisoners have not committed more crimes than those of expressing their political beliefs, either through word or through action. Some of our political prisoners were arrested on grounds other than those associated with political activities. But we all know that the real reason for the imprisonment was their political affiliations. Because of that, we insist that the release of political prisoners is necessary if the process of reconciliation is to go forward to a point where it becomes truly irreversible. Until the process becomes truly irreversible, none of us can afford to be complacent. Until all our political prisoners are free, none of us can say that Burma is now truly on the road towards democratic change. Because of that, we would like to call upon everybody who cares for the future of Burma to support the request, the demand for the release of all political prisoners speedily and unconditionally. They should be released as soon as possible, that they may resume their political activities, that they may live by their political beliefs unhindered and unoppressed.
In 2000, former political prisoners on the Thai-Burma border set up the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners Burma, also known as the AAPP.
After I fled to the Thai-Burma border, I thought of what I could do for the democratic struggle. I consulted activists from other different organizations, and finally we discussed about the situation of political prisoners in prison, all the human rights violations by the junta, and how we can help those suffering. And at last, the beginning of 2000, the 11th anniversary of Minko Nai's arrest, a student leader in Burma, we set up AAPP. The current economic and political and educational situation in Burma has devastated everyone, and the majority of released political prisoners are in fact under surveillance. Military intelligence personnel always watches whatever they do, whether they're in business or in education. The military intelligence visit former political prisoners' homes, question them, and when they do, former political prisoners feel anxious about being rearrested, because once you've been a prisoner, you're always a prisoner in Burma. Some people just cannot bear such continuous harassment, but some are rearrested and some are hiding, others are trying to go into hiding. They contact opposition groups across the border, and nowadays the number of former political prisoners fleeing to the border areas is dramatically increasing.
There are
three kinds of work in the AAPP. Firstly, there are internal Burma activities. Secondly, there are the Thailand border activities. And finally, there are the international activities. When we look at the inside work, we can see monitoring of the situation of political prisoners in Burmese prisons and assisting them as much as we can. And moreover, there is an organisation that can inspect Burmese prisons, the International Committee of the Red Cross, inspects prisons and sometimes reports on what it finds. And as the ICRC visits prisons, we need to know what ICRC is doing and what ICRC is reporting to the international community. Are the ICRC's reports really similar and true to what goes on inside the prison? In fact, we need to monitor the ICRC itself. This is one of our new activities. We're trying to find ways to help political prisoners and former political prisoners. However, we can only assist a very limited number of former political prisoners because of the lack of funding. And if you want to help us, please visit our website, which is www.aappb.org, to know more details. The highest international activity of the AAPP is attending the United Nations Commission on Human Rights conferences, which are held every March until April in Geneva. AAPP has been attending that conference since 2002. At the UNCHR conference, we could present a list of political prisoners and the real situation of political prisoners to diplomats from different nations. So now there are stronger resolutions passed on political prisoners' issues by the UNCHR. I myself believe that even though AAPP is only working on human rights work, it does make a great contribution to the Burmese struggle for restoring democracy and human rights in the country.